Welcome back to another episode of Draft Busters here on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. I am one half of the Draft Busters, Garrett Burrows, down there at the bottom,
The
notorious underscore
bottom?
GMB. On the bottom, I'm plugging my Twitter, which you should be
It's all
doing as well
about
for
you,
what
I
it's worth.
guess. It's all about you, I
worth.
guess.
The other half of the Draft Busters is Chickster, who's apparently in a grouchy mood.
No, I'm really not. I'm just having fun.
He just likes to stir the shit.
I don't know how interesting this episode's gonna be. You gotta be a real degenerate, because we're getting into the nitty gritty of some.
And some of the terminology, and I know we mentioned it last year. It's going to be said this year and every year going forward. Some of the terminology might sound a little bit goofy, might not make a whole lot of sense, but like Chickster was saying, for those who are like in the weeds of this kind of stuff, it's going to make sense. So,
Sure.
In this episode, as you guys saw in the title, we're going to be briefly discussing the tight end class, which I'm not overly thrilled with the class. I don't think there's really much to
best class ever
discuss here. And then we're going to be going over the offensive linemen in the class. We are doing it a little bit different than maybe some of the other mainstream places are doing, where we're not going to break it down by tackle, guard, center, because in all actuality, the interior of the offensive line kind of sucks this year for this draft class, and tackle's kind of top heavy. So we're just going to do our top 10 offensive linemen. We're going to specify by tackle. If they're a guard, I don't have a center in my top 10.
No, I don't either, which is one of my only yeah.
And I only really have.
I don't think it's super top heavy. I think there's quality depth in.
I have 3 interior offensive linemen and 7 tackles, but 2 of them might kick inside. So
hey man, dab me up. I feel like we have the same 3. I hope
we will probably have similar lists, except our rankings might be a little bit different, but we'll get into that.
We'll see.
So, like I said, we're going to be going over the tight ends first. This is probably just something we're just going to breeze through, right? I mean, this tight end class, we kind of talked about it. Not really anything special. I feel like for most people, the top of the tight end class is pretty clear. I know that Trey has a much different tight end one than the majority of people, which he's
did he put his out yet?
I don't know that he has his out yet, but I know he's a big fan of Elijah Arroyo out of Miami.
Yeah.
He made my list, but
we should be done with this. We should be done with the tight ends at 10 minutes.
If not, no, less, way less, because I'm not really going to go in depth. I'm not going to go super in depth.
There you go. And if we don't, you have to subscribe.
So, Alex, who's your tight end 5 in the class? Because we're just going to do 5 through 1.
The reason why he's my tight end 5 is he is the best receiving back, or not back, but tight end in the class. But to play tight end, I feel like you have to block. And so I have Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. It's at the college. Look at me. Improvement.
All right.
But he's a little bit undersized. He's 6'3", which is, really good size. But he's really a receiving tight end. He'll block, but he's not a better blocker than the other 4 I have in here. But he might be the best receiving one I have. So that, for me, a tight end, and this is more a traditional, and maybe I'm getting maybe I'm giving unk status right now. But, to be a tight end, you have to block. You have to be very good at blocking. So out of these 5, he's the worst blocker on here, but very good receiving tight end. So he's going to get his looks. He's going to help an offense either way. But for me to be a really good tight end, you have to be able to block really well. So he's at 5 for me.
And a lot of these newer head coaches are kind of adapting the philosophy of no block, no rock, right? Especially for wide receivers, you're not blocking, you're not getting looks, you're not going to get targets.
Oh no, that's how we run our program.
That's how every school should be running it.
If you're even I'll find the offensive coach, and I'd be like, hey, that dude just gave a hell of a block. Let's get him a ball. Now, can that motherfucker catch? No, but if we throw it to him, and it might
you're more likely to get him the block again. Yep.
Yeah, there's hey, good block, motherfucker. Go. But you know what I mean. So
my tight end 5 is going to be Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon.
Okay.
I am not. I say this all the time when I'm saying this player looks like. I'm not saying that this player is the comparison or this player is their player's comp. However, when he has the ball in his hand, and his ability to make guys miss with smooth moves after contact. He reminds me a little bit of Travis Kelce back a couple years ago, in the sense
What?
that
You're calling him Travis Kelce?
anyway, in the sense that like he's very strong with the ball in his hands after reception. Route running, I mean, you're not going to get exceptional route runners out of this tight end class really at any point. I mean, Brock Bowers is kind of an outlier with that last year, but Ferguson for me is a guy that you can line up on the line, or you can maybe split him out into like that slot-ish position. And as long as you're not asking him to run those like super deep post kind of routes, if you give him those option routes inside, I think he could be a nice developmental piece for an offense.
Yeah, he's actually my number 4, so that works out. So if you want to just go straight to your number 4, because he's my number 4.
My number 4 is Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. I don't necessarily know that I get it as Trey gets it in terms of having him as tight end 1. He is athletic, sure, but he was a big winner coming out of the Senior Bowl, but some of the clips I was seeing doesn't scream athleticism to me. He's a very fluid athlete. He's got softer hands. I think he should be able to thrive in an offense that's pretty pass heavy. I just worry about his ability to get in there on run plays, get his hands on a linebacker, on a DN to do chip blocks and be physical.
Yeah, he's smooth. He's smooth. But yeah, from a cutting and explosive standpoint, it's just very, and maybe Arroyo's his stock went up because of Cam Ward, just how we talked about with Xavier Restrepo or whatever. I get the X-Man, but so I saw the clips that you and Trey were talking about, and I'm kind of on your side on this. I was like, he moves fine. It's not like I'm like, oh, blown away.
He moves like how tight ends are starting to move.
Yeah, like it's nothing like I'm not.
I'm not gonna blow my load over Elijah Arroyo because he moves like how tight ends are starting to move now.
Yeah, so he wasn't bad. So
yeah,
he's my number 3 actually. So there you go. So yeah, this is gonna be really quick, but yeah,
all right,
same thing.
My number 3, I have Harold Fannin at 3.
Yeah,
and the reason I have him this high as at 3 is that I am a sucker for smaller school, big time production tight ends. I loved Trey McBride when he was coming out of college from Colorado State. He was their number 1, number 2, number 3 option in that offense.
Oh, and who? I thought he was from Coastal Carolina. Who's from Coastal Carolina? It's gonna bother me. Tight end from Coastal Carolina.
Is he currently in the league?
Yes. That's a me question. I got it. You keep talking. Okay. You go.
There is something to be said about the track record as well of these smaller school tight ends producing in college and transitioning to the NFL as well. And I think that his receiving chops that he has, and he's a fluid athlete as well with really, really sure hands, that should be able to translate well. Now, he is from Bowling Green. There's going to be the level of competition rise, the step up in competition. If you give him the more simple end of the routes for tight ends in terms of NFL offenses, early on, I think he could be a fine enough contributor. He's not going to be, an elite contributor right away, but I think he has the tools and the skill set to turn into a really nice prospect in the NFL.
Yeah, I could really see him detached Y. You're not gonna really, I say that, but you're not gonna really see him next to a tackle. Like I don't.
Not very often. I don't think so.
No, I don't think. I say that now, but it depends on the system he's in. But Empty said he's gonna be in. He's gonna be in. Like his receiving is way too valuable not to have him on the field especially for passing plays. For me to have more success at the next level, he's gonna have to learn how to block better.
Yep.
But and he's undersized for that too. It was Isaiah Likely. I don't know
Yep, that's who it is. You're right.
Yeah. So, what are we on 2?
You're on 2.
2 and
We
1
should
the
have the
same,
same
right?
2-1 the same. Yes.
Yeah. So Colston Loveland, he can catch, he can block. He's the second best tight end in the class from Michigan.
He had a down year this year and still ends up as a tight end too. I feel like if he had the year he had last year, this year, even with the year that Tyler Warren had, and we'll chat about him in a second, I think you can make an argument that Loveland would have been in tight end 1 contention because he played very well 2 seasons ago, I suppose now, with JJ McCarthy. He looked really, really nice. He still has the bit of upside, but he did have a down year this year.
Yeah,
But the Michigan quarterback play was not very good this year also.
And it wasn't. But I think people will say JJ, but I also think Jim Harbaugh is
that also played a factor in it, correct? Yes. Yeah. And then we both have Tyler Warren at 1 out of Penn State.
Which he is poor man's great value, less than that Brock Bowers. I mean, that's like
and Trey wrote an article about this, and he hit the nail on the head. You absolutely cannot compare the two. As pure prospects. I know you just said great value, store brand, whatever the fuck. That's fine. But if you're saying, oh, Tyler Warren is this year's Brock Bowers, no, the fuck
exactly.
He's just not. It's not like it's a night and day difference.
Yeah.
Night and day. If you're in an NFL front office and you get to choose between Brock Bowers and Tyler Warren, anybody that says Tyler Warren probably gets shown the door. They're probably fired.
You can't, you could see Tyler Warren playing, and you're like, that really reminds me of a really lesser version, like a 1% version of Brock. No, 1% is kind of glazing, but
yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's that. You're like, oh, he does a lot of great things that Brock Bowers does. He just does them a lot less worse than he does. But he's still tight end 1 in this class, and I think that's fair.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
So before we move into the offensive line, I have 2 honorable mentions that I do want to quickly show some love to.
There's a few, but go ahead.
I have 2 honorable mentions. I want to give some love to Clay Webb out of Sacramento State. That dude is a road grader. He is an absolute mauler. He can get up to the second level exceptionally well. And if anything we've learned over the last couple of years is that offensive linemen, specifically in the interior of the offensive line, who were wrestlers, have a better shot at being quality NFL players than not. Clay Webb, outstanding wrestler. Absolutely love his game. And then Charles Grant out of William and Mary has length for days that should translate at the next level. Very, very good wingspan. He uses it really well. I think he's somebody that you definitely want to take a mid to late day 3 flyer on and just get him and make sure you get him in camp because he could turn into a nice rotational piece.
The only ones I'm really gonna say, the only center worth really talking about is Jared Wilson. That's my only honorable, and he's not. And so, if we were doing interior, he would have made the list, but we're not. So there you go. Yep. I think that's the only one I really want to talk about. All right, number 10. Who do you have?
I have Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. He is, I believe he will play really along anywhere in the offensive line. I think he might be better suited to play interior, but potentially even at center. He had nice showing at the Senior Bowl, right? Turned a lot of heads, wowed a lot of people. I like the smaller school guys sometimes, especially guys on winning programs in North Dakota State.
I have him higher.
I struggled because I had my 10 and I'm like, I could make an argument to put him up as high as maybe 8. But my top 7, pretty set in stone and has been for a little bit. You apparently might have him higher than 7, which I don't hate that at all.
I like him. He's good.
There are a lot of tools about his game that should translate really well.
Yeah. Number 10. Before I even say this, I only put him on here because, yes, he had really good combine, okay? And that's the only reason why I put him on there. At some point, yes, you have to buy into some potential, but you also have to buy into tape. You have to do both. And we've talked about this before in other episodes as well. More potential here. there's no reason why this guy should be tackle 1 for some of you fucks that are just so athleticism heavy. Okay. I have Armin Mumbo out of Missouri.
That is going to ruffle some feathers out there because, like you were saying, a lot of people have him as tackle 1, tackle 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. I don't even want to say he's good necessarily. Like, where was this talk all through the season? Didn't even sniff a top 5. Didn't even sniff top 10. Didn't even had a really nice showing at the combine, and you fucks go crazy. Is he big? Yeah.
Yep.
Does he have the length? Is he athletic as fuck? Yeah. Okay. But when you look at the tape, can he play? And no, he hasn't learned to be a top tackle in the class. Now, if you're saying tackle 1 off of potential, great for you. Good for you. You better hope you can fucking coach him up to do that shit.
I also have concerns about taking a right tackle super high. That's not like elite all year.
Yeah.
That's the concern as well. Like when I think, if I remember correctly, I think Penei Sewell came out as a right tackle, and then he's the best, arguably the best tackle in the NFL, and he plays on the right side.
Right.
If you are elite all year, I can look over the fact that you play right tackle. Not to say that's like a bad thing, but obviously if you're taking a tackle that high, you want to protect the blind side, right? That's gonna be your left tackle.
Right.
I would be cautious about taking a right tackle that's late getting steam and hype instead of being elite all year.
You have to balance it out. Yes, you could be like, man, this guy's gonna be good. Just because of his size and the intangibles and whatever, how athletic, like that's great. You have to be able to coach that out of him, though. And right now he doesn't have it, but if you're buying into the potential, that's why he's at 10. He almost didn't make my list. So, take it as it is.
My number 9 is going to be Jonah Savaiena out of Arizona.
No L's in that, by the way. When I was writing that name down, there's no L's.
Not a 1.
I thought there was an L.
Yeah. No, not a 1 at all. Hell of vowels, though. Hell of vowels. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 vowels in his last name.
His parents were at fucking, Wheel of Fortune, and they were just buying vowels, and they just buy all them shits.
I think that playing alongside like a guy like Noah Fafita and Ermac got him into the spotlight, because I don't know if those guys were there that he would be getting the respect he deserves. And I would even argue that he is maybe even better than offensive lineman 9. I don't want to say tackle 9 because I have multiple guards in here, but I think hand placement massive for offensive linemen. Can you be violent with your punch? Right? How's your kickback? Do you heel click? Things like that. I don't have those concerns with him. I don't necessarily know that anything he does is
bad,
great to elite.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think he does anything that is bad or concerning that needs to be worked out. He's a higher floor than some other prospects in this class.
He doesn't master anything for you at this moment, but he definitely doesn't do anything wrong. Like I
don't have any like major red flags on him. Does he have things he can clean up? Obviously. But I don't think he has stuff that's like, man, I watched the tape, I noticed this immediately, has to be cleaned up.
He probably needs to find something that he needs to be really good at and make that his kind of.
Yep.
So he's a little bit higher on my list. We'll get to that later. Number 9 for me. It's a name. I can tell you that.
Is it the kid from Minnesota?
Bro, look at you. Yep, there you go. Good job.
Hold
on. Let me try. Ursary and Ayante. There's 2 S's, aren't there?
Who are you talking about? There's only 1 S in his name, and it's in his last name. We're talking about different tackles then.
Who's your 9?
My 9 is the kid from Arizona.
Oh.
You're on 8.
No, I'm on 9.
Because I went first because we flopped. Yeah, you're on 9 then.
The dude from Minnesota.
Aritone Irsi?
Oh,
his first name begins
with
an A.
I did James Bond. James Bond.
Oh, okay. I understand. We're talking about the same player.
What happened was, as I misspelled it. No, I didn't. So when I was writing his name, I put the last name, and then I was like, oh, I need to put his first name. So I read.
Here, hold on. Let me. Are we talking about this guy?
There we are.
Okay, that's who we're talking about.
Ariante
Okay.
Ursary.
There you go.
What a fucking name.
So to make sure we have the same guy.
Yeah, so that's my guy. That's my guy. Homies, for real. No, he's from Minnesota. He's kind of just middle of that level of the tackle class. Like this tackle class has I feel like 2 really good tackles, and then everyone else is just really quality depth. He doesn't do it like he's a good size. He can move a little bit, has good arms. I mean, he's all right. He's all right for me. So, I don't. Full disclosure, guys. I know some of the people. I don't get into the nitty gritty like Garrett does. I'm not looking at those guys. I like the skill players. Like, and I've coached linemen before too, and I'm just like, this is. I mean, so.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say it's just like I'm not gonna sit here and watch O-line tape. I'm gonna see what I see, and then I'm like, okay, that's it.
It's not the best or the easiest or the most fun tape to watch.
Yeah,
for sure. So I can understand people that like just don't care about watching offensive lineman tape. I get it 100%. I totally get it. He's a little bit higher for me, just by a little though. My number 8 is Armand Mimbu out of Missouri. He did crack my top 10, but I have him at 8. And for kind of the reasons you said, and really the big thing for me is I kind of mentioned on it, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but like right tackles taking them that high has to be a concern if you weren't showcasing it all year long. For me, at least, I think he has athletic traits to him that should be able to translate well. I just drafting a right tackle super high, unless you're like, the undisputed tackle 1 in the class, just doesn't really do it for me. So
no, you just can't do it unless you have a left-handed quarterback. So
unless you're in Miami, then I could see if he's there at 13, I could see Miami taking him
or
at 13.
If the Falcons want to be dumb and take him, go ahead.
Also true.
Because Michael Penis, big Mike Penis going in. Number 8 for me. This is where I have my first guard, Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State guys are usually going to be bread and butter. This guard class is not good at all. I feel like there are maybe 5 really good guards, and then really good quotations. Yeah, that's pushing it. Like,
I think there's one great guard in this class, and then no, that's a lie. I have 2 great guards in this class, and then just a bunch of guys. For me, at least,
mid round. I mean, those depth guys. So there's not. I mean, he's one of the better ones in this class, but being in a bad guard class, I don't know what to tell you. But obviously, Ohio State was the most talented roster in the nation. That's the only reason why Will Howard was able to win a title. But he did great. I mean, he blocked for fucking everybody. Like, he blocked for fucking Will Howard, blocked for fucking Quinshon Judkins, Trayvon Henderson. Why do people think Will Howard is
because he wins. He's a winner, and he's a national champion.
That's my thing.
But he was also throwing to guys like Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka and Carnell Tate.
I mean, it's just like when you look at fucking, like, why do people? It's such lazy thinking to be like, this quarterback is good because he wins games. Okay, why did he win those games? Like, you really, like, if it was fucking, I don't know, Josh Allen on fucking, I don't know, some shitty ass team
in Carolina.
Yeah, like, and just fucking won with them, like, and got to the playoffs. I'm like, okay, yeah, Josh Allen's winning those fucking games.
Yeah.
Like, I can see that, but it's just like, if you're just saying this guy's winning games because the team is really fucking good, that's why I'm like, I don't understand you fucks that are just like, oh, this guy's really good. His team won games. He didn't do that shit. He didn't do that. He was there and didn't fuck it up. That's basically what he did. Anyway, that's my thing. Donovan Jackson, number 8. Go ahead.
I, as you know, I'm in love with Donovan Jackson, so I have him significantly higher than
Yeah.
8. My number 7 is Airtwan Irsay out of Minnesota. He's kind of been on my radar since like middle October, early November, which is kind of like that's like peak Minnesota football. You know what I mean? Where like the weather starts to get cold, they're gonna run the football. Got to lean on the offensive lineman, right? He's got a bit of road grader to him outside playing at tackle. Like he has the sneaky athleticism on those pull plays to be able to get out to the opposite side of the line. I don't really see a ton of heel clicking when he is moving. His initial kickback and where his punches land definitely need to be a little bit sharpened. But man, when he's on his game and those punches are hitting, they land hard. Just need to clean up where they land. I think that I think he should be a early to mid day 2 pick because he's got pretty decent upside.
Yeah. I mean, and what people don't realize is you got to sometimes those small schools offensive linemen, they're money. They're fucking money because sometimes that's the only people fucking blocking on that offensive line. We're on 7. I'm on 7.
You're on
this
7,
is where
yes.
I have Jonah.
7 vowels.
Jonah 7 vowels.
That's it.
That's the name.
Has to be because I mean, how the fuck do you pronounce that last name?
Someone tell how many? Does it really have 7 vowels?
Yes.
Oh, that's
SAVAIINAEA.
That's his nickname.
7 vowels.
We also talked about Nico. The floor is lava.
Savinaya. Oh.
That's fucking boring. Jonah 7 vowels. That's what we said.
Or just call him 7. Or just call him vowels. Nah, 7 vowels is better.
7 vowels. It's gotta be. Gotta be the whole thing.
7 vowels.
Yeah. So, like you said earlier, he does a lot of great things. He just doesn't. He does a lot of good things. Doesn't do anything really kind of great. Nothing stands out. But he's not gonna fuck you up. He's gonna be able to do what he's supposed to do. He's not gonna have any deficiencies or anything. He's gonna do what he needs to do. But I don't know if he has a mastery of something, and that's something he needs to develop part of his game. Where are we at? 7.
I'm on 6 now.
Oh, okay. Go
6 is this is where I have Josh Simmons out of Ohio State.
Hey, I got that one.
And
too.
He's kind of okay. Perfect. This is great then, because we'll talk about Josh Simmons, and I'll just go to 5 then. Josh Simmons is kind of a weird one because he spent almost the entire season injured, so it's kind of hard to really go off of anything from this year. So we have to look from the year prior. And he's also in that discussion of one of the top tackles in the class because of his athleticism, because he is like, he's for a tackle, he's got some really good athleticism to him. From what I've seen from the guys who played the majority of the season, I just like what I see more. Like athletic tackles, great. That's awesome. And I'm not going to knock him for being hurt last year. Like he can't help that. But this is just where I have him. Like the athleticism's great. Hand placement's is typically pretty clean. And heels never click. I mean, those are like the big things that you're looking for.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's one of the better tackles in the class, but I have him at 6 as well, but I don't think I ever really kind of put him up there. You know what I mean? I feel
it's just kind of like he needs to be there. Yeah.
I feel like he's always been like 3rd or less. He's always been 3rd or more for me. So, and actually, he was at 3rd for me earlier, but he's at 4th now for my 3rd tackle. But we'll get that later. But yeah, Josh Simmons. So we both have him at 6.
Yes.
So
now Well, around the five.
I'm gonna do 5 because you already did this player, but I have 5 as Gray.
Gray
Is it
Zabel.
Zarabel or Zabel?
Zabel, Zabel.
The Z-Man.
Z-A-B. X-Man and Z-Man.
X-Man and Z-Man
There
from
you have it.
North Dakota State. You know I love versatile linemen. Any guy that can play all over the offense line can play for me. You know why? Because the Raiders never have a decent offensive line. Either that or they get hurt, and then Colton Miller's the only one.
Hey, Jackson Powers Johnson though.
Oh, he's good. He's good. Also
Loved him
versatile.
last year.
Could play guard and center.
Guard or center, yeah. And he's probably gonna play center this year because they released Andre James.
Andre James. Yep. So he will play center. If he doesn't play center, I don't know what the fuck we're doing. So I don't know. But yeah, I love guys that can play all over the line. I will always take that into account because not only does that mean I can plug and play you wherever I need you, I mean that it also means that you're athletic enough to play any of these and understand the role that you need to do. So, I will always take account into, and even if he is from a small school, I told you those could be money, but I'm gonna take account for the versatile O lineman. I'm always gonna have them higher.
So I've had my top 5 set for the majority of the year, I think, and 4 and 5 can kind of flip flop for me. As of what is today, March 14th, 2025. Pi Day. Shout out to all those who celebrate. My number 5 offensive lineman is going to be Josh Connerly out of Oregon. And he is someone who popped this year. He played exceptionally well this year. Super blindside blocker. Had a strong showing at the Senior Bowl, aside from the Mike Green clip where he got absolutely manhandled. I think that he's a plug and play starter at left tackle for most teams. I think obviously if he ends up in the wrong situation, he'll be a depth piece, or they might try to move him to right tackle potentially. But he has starter upside right out of the gate. The fluidity in which he moves off the line is silky, absolutely silky. And he is violent with his hands in a way that, like, that initial punch and that punch back after it lands and that blow to the defensive lineman, strong. Yeah. He's a strong boy. I think that something about his game just tickles my brain in a good way,
Yeah, he plays well. He's actually my number 4 on the list, so that works out.
Huge.
And that's the guy that I was going back and forth. I had Josh Simmons over him the entire year really much, and then like the last couple. Let's just talk about the Mike Green thing real quick. What Mike Green did, great play. But my only thing with Mike Green is, and everyone was, kind of just glazing it, sucking dick over it, whatever. They were just like, you're not going to be able to just fucking bull rush every offensive line you see. Like, you're just not. And so did Josh Connerly maybe not, like, he kind of stood up, and didn't have leverage. I get it.
His pad level can run a little high sometimes. And we saw it in the clip where he just went. He was like backbender. Like there was
he stood straight up. He stood straight up. So bad rep by him, but like also as a defensive end, you're not going to be able to just go at someone the entire fucking time and expect that to work, especially when you go against NFL offensive tackles. So like let's not look too far into one rep when he's been solid the entire year. Obviously, I have him as a 3rd tackle in the class as well. Like, he's been solid the entire fucking year. Like, you can't just take one Mike Green clip that he just bull rushes and stuff. That was my thing with Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson, when they should have took Jalen Carter. That's my Roman Empire. That Tyree Wilson didn't have anything to his game. He was very athletic. He was very strong, and all he did was bull rush, okay? Now, I'm not saying Mike Green is Tyree Wilson. I think Mike Green's better than Tyree Wilson, but I'm just saying that's the similarities. Like, you can't just do that and expect that to be. Yeah. Mike Green does have more to his game, which we'll get to that when we get to the edge rushers and all that, but it's one clip, okay? Yeah. We got to stop acting like one clip is the thing. Now, if you're talking about someone that's ass like Isaiah Bond, yeah, and then he's that one clip saying that he's gonna beat the record, doesn't even get close. Yeah, that entirely counts for something. But
So I'll just give us a slight amount of pushback on the the one clip being everything kind of thing, and then we'll go to your number 5, I believe.
no,
Is
that was no. Josh Connerly was my 4. So you're gonna go to your 4, I think. No. Yes,
I
you're gonna go to your 4.
because we swapped halfway through because we had the same lineman. I'm
Yeah.
my brain's jumbled. Excuse me. Mike Green had an outstanding Senior
No,
Bowl.
he did. He did.
And
But
so I think the reason why that clip got so blown up is because it was on the heels of an exceptional day one. And
mhm,
people were like, dude, Mike Green, holy cow. And then Josh Connerly, very strong day one as well. So that was one of the premier matchups. And I think that's why it blew up so much, is because both of these guys, one had an exceptional day one had a very strong day one. So they're like, dude, this is a matchup. And to see somebody win that matchup so convincingly, I think
right.
that's why it blew up so much. I don't think that's the one clip end all be all and that's it. I think the backstory of the previous day from the Senior Bowl plays a lot into that as well.
I mean, I guess whatever.
My number 4 and my number 3 are my 2 guards in the class, although I think my number 4 is probably going to end up playing tackle potentially. This is where I have Donovan Jackson.
Mm.
It says a lot about someone who played guard the majority of maybe their collegiate career, maybe their high school career, being forced to kick outside at the premier position on the offensive line, and not only not sinking, but swimming and performing at a elite level. And that's what we saw with Donovan Jackson this year. Everything about him screams quality pro, to me at least. I love how physical he is. He is a dog. The pad level never really is an over concern for me. I think he's got road grader to him, moves up really well into the second level. I think that he can take on 2 men, pause, pretty well from where he's at. I think he went up against top end talent this year in the Big Ten as well. It's not like this is a player who's, in the ACC, the AAC, being asked to go from guard to tackle. This is the best of the best going from guard to tackle and thriving in a situation like that. I think this year Donovan Jackson earned himself a ton of money by being able to kick out like that and go into play tackle. Because
I
I never
I can.
felt like he was
Yeah.
being overly pushed all year long by these defensive linemen he went against.
What I can tell you is, in my belief, it's easier to play guard than it is to play tackle. That most people in college programs are going to when they're looking for guards, they also look for tackles so they can just kick them inside. Because most of the time, if you get an oversized tackle that can play guard, then yeah, you're good. Like if you're looking for those tendencies, so he probably played a little bit of tackle in high school, and that kind of helped him for the kick out. Even though he was been playing pretty much guard his entire collegiate career, he's at some point it just becomes muscle memory, especially when you have people screaming at you day after day, and practice after practice about doing certain things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you have him higher on my list. I think we have the same number 3s, which was Tyler Booker.
Correct.
Alabama.
Yep.
You want to talk about guys that can play all over the line? I think Tyler Booker could. So maybe not tackle. Maybe he probably could. I don't know how good he would be at a tackle, but at least at the combine, he was one of the players that, like we talked about, not a very strong center class, was asked to, hey, can you stay afterwards and can we check you out at center too? And so that tells me that they wouldn't even ask him if he didn't even have a shot to play center. So having that versatility, but also just being that road grader, that guy that's going to be able to just fuck kids up at the offensive line, and being able to play center and guard at that gives you that versatility. I mean, at this point, we're getting to the point in the NFL. If you can play guard, you need to learn how to play center. Like you're gonna have to learn how to do both of those because that only increases your draft stock. So I have Tyler Booker at 3, best guard in the class by far. Well, maybe not by far, but there's him and then there's fucking Donovan Jackson, and then I put Greg Zarabel, but I like him all over the line. But
Yeah.
those 3 guys are really the top, and then everybody else. There's a huge fucking tier below it.
So this makes me wonder if we have different 2s and 1s. Then I wonder, because I was working under the impression that we were going to have the same 3, 2, and 1, but maybe not.
I have Tyler Booker at 3.
I also have Tyler Booker at 3.
So what's the problem?
I'm curious to see if we have different 2s and 1s.
I feel like we have the same.
What I just said.
I feel like we have the same 2 and 1. What's the problem here?
Who's your number 2?
Who's your number 2?
I asked you first.
I asked you second. And if it's 2 second, then yeah. I have a dude from Texas.
Which one? Okay. Yeah. So it just threw me off because normally when we do these lists, you'll go, I think we have the same XYZ when it gets to the end of the list, but you only said like 3 and not 3, 2, 1. So that made me think you might have had Will Campbell at 2, Kelvin Banks at 1. So
there's an overthinker over here.
But yeah, so we do have the same 2 and 1. Kelvin Banks from Texas is at number 2.
You're not gonna talk about Tyler Booker? He just gets no love.
Well, I feel like you said everything there was to say.
Okay, fine. Go ahead. Go 2 to 1 then. Sorry, Tyler Booker. Sorry.
Irritating the shit out of me the last couple of days. God bless. I'm just playing. No. Okay. Really quickly on Tyler Booker then. Tyler Booker.
No, you said Booker.
Should we just end the episode here? I wonder. Like we've already said 2 and 1. Should we just cut it?
Why?
On Tyler Booker, everything he does is clean. Every rep feels clean. Every rep feels the same, and that's a good thing. You don't want offensive line reps to look different as the game goes on. You want every rep from every offensive lineman to look the exact same, and you want it to look clean and crisp and precise, and that's what Tyler Booker does in spades. He has a higher floor because his mechanics are so sharp right out of the gate, and he has a high ceiling because he's got athleticism to him, and he has untapped potential in there because you can see it because of how physical he is as well. Number 2 is Kelvin Banks.
This is who Trey rated as number 1, by the way.
Correct. And Trey's not very high on Will Campbell, which is fine. I think we were pretty off last year on top of offensive linemen as well. That's just how it goes. Kelvin Banks, former 5-star recruit, literally just turned 21 4 days ago. So happy belated birthday to Kelvin Banks. Woo! He was the top tackle prospect coming out in his recruiting class. I'm trying to think of the right words here. There's untapped potential, and then there's guys like Kelvin Banks who have produced at a high level, but still have like gobs of untapped potential as well.
Mm.
They're like I don't think in anything I've ever seen Kelvin Banks do, he's never clicked a heel once. He can drop his ass really well and anchor down, right? There's not a ton of backbending to his game, right? Pad level seems really consistent, really clean. Playing at a high-end school like Texas, an SEC program, even though they shouldn't be, it's another conversation for another time. He goes up against high-end talent in the SEC week in, week out, and he's also playing against some of the nasty edge rushers of Texas as well. And he can hold his own no matter what. Kelvin Banks might not have as high of a floor as some of the other prospects. I'd say he has a low floor, but he has among the higher ceilings of anybody in the entire class.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I forgot. Oh, one of my favorite things to read about in Trey's, like I said, I'm not going to sit there and watch a lot of O-line tape. I do like to read the O-line notes, though. And reading Trey's O-line notes are just funny because dude just says, out of nowhere, no context, what an ass. Like, what an ass this guy has. You see the ass on this?
I've adopted that phrasing because it makes total sense, and all credit goes to Trey because he's been saying that for years now.
He's like,
What an
what an
ass on
ass.
this guy.
Look at the ass on this guy. He's like, I would like to smack it twice. And I need twice to smack one cheek. You know what I'm saying? That's how big the ass is.
Crazy.
Like, that's just one of my favorite things. Sometimes I only read the O-line notes. I'm like, well, let's see which one he says he has an ass. And that's the only thing. Every stock note, he always has one, or the stock draft notes. And then number 1 is Will Campbell, who Trey rated as number 5, by the way, out of LSU. So why did he rate him as 5? Do you know?
He did not have the best combine, and I think that might be putting it kindly. He really struggled in the on-field drills. There's concerns about the arm length. Will Campbell's probably better suited to kick inside to guard, I think. He showcased, for me at least, that he can play tackle out there even with shorter arms for the position. But I think he could be a good tackle, but he has potential to be a damn good guard early on as well.
Interesting.
No, his combine performance was not very good, though.
Yeah, because, I remember Trey was just ripping, like, he was stumbling during this drill. He was doing this during...
Apparently, he, almost, broke his leg on one of the freaking...
Oh, when he did, like, that split
thing? Yeah.
Oh,
when he
yeah.
did the split thing, yeah.
But that's, like, 1, what cleats are you wearing? 2, what's the field looking like? You know what I mean?
Fair.
So, and 3, why are we still doing this shit in Indy? Can we move this shit? We need to move this shit to Texas. You know what I'm saying?
I think it needs to be in a dome, I think. For me,
needs to be where?
In a dome.
Oh,
For
yeah.
me, I think the cities that make the most sense are, you could probably have it in Dallas.
Dallas Cowboy Stadium.
For me, I would almost maybe even put it in Arizona or Vegas. One of the two.
Yeah, why the fuck are we going to Arizona? Vegas?
Because Arizona's got a really nice facility, and they take care of their field really well.
Fuck them.
But the combine should 100% be in a dome, no questions asked. Every single year.
Maybe putting it in Vegas would be dangerous. You know what I mean? Be dangerous for those scouts. You know what I mean? But that's what we're talking about.
Separates the men from the boys. See how you can hold your liquor after the combine.
That's crazy. No. Will Campbell, he's produced this entire year, though. What's funny about Kelvin Banks and about Will Campbell is, even though they were really good this year, their counterparts are not bad as well. Like, they're going to be good tackles. Cameron Williams and Emory Jones are both going to be decent tackles in the NFL.
I think Emory Jones might be he's really being slept on in this class. I thought he had a nice showing at the Senior Bowl. Some people, especially after day one, basically just gave up on him, and I didn't think his day one was that bad. I think he really bounced back strong the last 2 days of the Senior Bowl.
I think they saw LSU tackle and said, "Oh, he's got to do this," and then it's like he did, he didn't do it as one of the best tackles in the class, so they just kind of just threw him away.
Yep.
Which he was never going to be one of the best tackles in the class. He was always going to be a solid depth, maybe possible NFL starter after a few years, kind of guy. And same thing with Cameron Williams. Maybe Cameron Williams has a higher ceiling than that, but
Cameron Williams is raw.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy with some untapped potential? Like, if Cameron Williams gets in the right system where he can learn from a vet at tackle, Cameron Williams might be decent.
Yeah. So, this one might be the most boring episode ever. I don't know.
Well, we were also pretty. Well, I think we had the same 10, just in a different order.
Well, and then we had to talk about tight ends too. You know what I mean?
Who gives a fuck about tight ends?
Exactly. Fuck the tight ends.
If they're not Brock Bowers, who gives a fuck?
I mean, the only thing we should not be caring about those tight ends. We should just tight ends. You know what I'm saying? Yep. You know what I mean? So.
Speaking of tight ends, and I'll end on this. Free my man Kyle Pitts. All right, that's another episode of Draft Busters here on the Videtta Sports Media YouTube channel. My name's Garrett Burrows at Notorious_GMP. That over, I'm never gonna get used to this. That over there is Chickster.
That?
Yes, that is Chickster at Chickster. for the Draft Busters. Thanks for watching another episode on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel.
That
If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up, comment down below your rankings if you like or disagree with some of our picks, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. We're going to see you next time.
Just call
I
me
didn't mean
that.
I didn't mean